finally confirmation that Impala Platinum had made a bid for Royal Bafokeng Platinum's Rasimone mine. First up, why would that route strategically have made sense for Royal Bafokeng?
I think the context to this is that the Bafokeng are completely focused on realizing value from the resources that sit underneath their land. And the first step in this process was to create a joint venture in the early 2000s between Anglo Platinum and the Bafokeng, where each party contributed a farm to the joint venture. And then we announced a restructuring of that joint venture to create a company called Royal Bafokeng Platinum, which took operational and economic control of the mine at the beginning of this year. And the intention was to list that on the JSE by the end of this year. About a week after the announcement was made of the intention to list, an unexpected offer from Impala Platinum was made to both shareholders. And that really has been the subject of some intense discussion and debate between the two shareholders.
Where basically we've been looking then at a consolidation of RBH's equity interests into one platinum producer, right?
Yes, that's correct. At the moment, we are the largest shareholder in Impala Platinum, Implats, which is right next door to the BRPM mine. And so clearly there is industrial logic in terms of unlocking synergies for eventually a consolidation of the various contiguous mining interests to take place. And we felt that in the fullness of time that was likely. Perhaps what surprised us was the speed at which Implats made the offer.
Yeah, well, where there's that logic then that's presented itself, and on the surface this makes complete sense, run us through what the deal breaker was, because we know that it's Anglo Platinum's that's come to the fore and really arguing the case for this deal not to go through.
The offer was an attractive one from our point of view. It valued the entire mine at just under 20 billion rands, which we felt was at a substantial premium to what the likely listing price of RB Platinum
which sits between
been.
10 and 12 billion.
You know, there are various analysts' estimates sitting out there, but probably, yeah, between about 9 and 11 billion, let's say, which in turn holds 2/3 of the mine. So the 20 billion for 100%, you know, did represent a substantial premium to that. So price was attractive. We also felt that it advanced our strategic aspirations, firstly through enabling us to combine our equity interests under one vehicle and really having a single share in a larger platinum operation. And secondly, by allowing us to switch our interests in what is really a growing capital-hungry asset in RB Platinum, where we're still building shafts and therefore the business is absorbing a lot of cash, into a more mature dividend-paying Implat share, which would have enabled us to accelerate our social agenda, which is effectively the development of communal infrastructure and community development programs in the area.
Yeah. And Niall, this Anglo Plat exercised the so-called veto right, which according to the contract lapses in 2 years' time, 2012. Do you expect that there might be other offers coming in after that period?
Yeah, it's difficult to say. I mean, I think we have to deal with, you know, the facts as they are dealt, and you know, clearly we've received an offer now, and Anglo were completely within their rights. You know, we are disappointed, deeply disappointed by the fact that they've chosen not to sell, because we felt that while the offer was good for us, we also felt it was an extremely attractive price for Anglo Platinum shareholders. So, you know, that they've exercised their right, and you know, the listing will go ahead, which, you know, I think will unlock a lot of value for everybody. In 2 years' time, I think they certainly will be unable to exercise any veto right.
Yeah.
They'll be an ordinary minority shareholder in RB Platinum.
What does that do, for your relationship in the interim? Because this has come, at an opportunity cost of R3.5 billion. Has that affected the relationship between the two players within this JV?
Well, look, I think it's in any joint venture or in any company where you've got different shareholders. Clearly, there will be differences of view and differences of emphasis. So, I think it would be surprising if there weren't these sorts of disagreements. I think it's disappointing for us that there's been a disagreement on an offer which, for us has a large opportunity cost. 3.5 billion rands builds a lot of houses and it pays for a lot of community development programs.
Francois, what are you making of this decision by Anglo Platinum? Because it says a lot about their savvy as well, one would assume.
Alishia, it's a good question. According to the announcement, Anglo Plats said that it's a very strategic asset in their book. But from an analyst's point of view, one should ask, in the bigger scheme of things, how strategic is it? How big is it in Anglo Platinum's life after all? And here they could have realized a nice profit or a substantial profit in a I think a short space of time. Yeah. So my view is, if I were an Anglo Plat shareholder, I would ask, why didn't they realize this opportunity, which might or might not represent itself in 2 years' time?
Now, where that is the question, why they haven't realized this, one has to ask, does Anglo Platinum have any desires to increase its shareholding in the JV?
I think that's a question probably for Anglo Platinum. I think
no talk about it just yet.
I think both parties recognize the value of the asset. It's one of the largest pieces of unmined Merensky Reef, relatively shallow on the Western Bushveld. Now, in platinum speak, that's the good stuff. And I think both parties, were very happy with the retention of their stake. And in fact, the debate probably is to what extent we should be selling off in the IPO rather than looking to dump shares on the market. So I think Anglo have recognized that this is an attractive asset, as do we. I think our sense was that, however, we're not wedded to any asset. Even though this is on Bafokeng land, we are there to realize value for our shareholders and to use that wealth to improve the lives of the people in the area.